Today marks the 9th day of testimony in the criminal trial of Colin Gray, the father of the accused Apalachee High School shooter, Colt Gray. Both have pleaded not guilty. The trial of Colin Gray has continued to move on, with jurors hearing testimony from a number of witnesses this week and last week. Our Grace King has been there covering all of it, listening in, and she joins us now live. Grace, what has stood out to you as you've been listening to the proceedings today?
Well, today we've mainly heard from one of the Barrow County District Attorney's Office investigators who laid out a digital timeline of what was going on in the Gray family, including Colin and Colt Gray's phone records. You could see at the beginning, it seemed like Colin Gray was continuing to buy different gun accessories and ammo for his son Colt, but towards the final months leading up to the shooting, his Google history changed. Instead of looking for some of those gun-related purchases that Colt was interested in, he started looking up child psychologists near Athens. He started looking up gun safes and different mental health places in Athens, Winder, Bethlehem, anywhere close to their home. So you could see there was some kind of changing tone in the dad's Google searches from that, okay, let's go purchase this, let's get you these gun accessories, to maybe we should lock the guns up, maybe that we should seek help. One of the last gun safe searches was from almost 11 p.m. the night before the school shooting. We also just saw a very detailed timeline, the most detailed timeline we've had of what happened the morning of September 4th. It started with Colt going to school, bringing that gun covered in poster board on the bus, according to surveillance videos, and texting his dad a lot of concerning messages. And prosecutors kept pointing out, okay, this is an hour before the shooting. This is 40 minutes before the shooting. What did the dad do? He stayed at work. He continued working and didn't act. He called Marcy Gray, Colt's biological mother. He called Deborah Polhamus, Colt's grandmother. But at no point did he call the school or authorities. He just remained at work. So just kind of pointing out a lot of those warning signs, a lot of opportunities that Colin could have had to act. Jurors will have to decide whether those warning signs were sufficient that Colin should have acted upon, and if, he should be held guilty at the end of the day.
And Grace, you talk about these new details about the Google searches being revealed in court today, and you mentioned that shift in the tone and tenor and subject matter of Colin Gray's Google searches, starting to tilt towards potentially getting help, potentially looking at gun safes. Has any evidence been presented that Colin Gray went further than just Googling these things, that those Google searches turned into actionable efforts to get help at any point?
That's one question prosecutors kept asking again and again today. And while there were a couple emails sent out to mental health professionals, there was no follow-up on Colin Gray's parts. To date, they have no evidence that Colt Gray ever actually saw a licensed professional, and there was no gun safe purchase for their home. So they're saying there were these warning signs. Colin clearly started to go in that direction by looking these things up, but there was no actual action there that unfortunately did not stop this shooting.
And as far as the defense is concerned, have they gotten a chance to cross-examine at all today? And if so, what has been their tack as they attempt to defend Colin Gray here?
I just stepped out of the courtroom, so I'm not quite sure what they asked, but I know that it was very quick because everyone came out to break probably about a minute or two after I stepped out. So there's not a lot you can question when it comes to this digital forensic evidence because they're not actually testifying to anything. They're just simply showing screenshots saying this Google search was made at this time, this email was sent at this time. They've had a lot more opportunities to cross-examine the witnesses who were recanting things that they saw themselves or had personal interactions.
And Grace, one last question for you before we let you go. I know you're going to want to jump back into court as soon as it comes back in session. But in terms of a timeline, the jury is now on day 9 of hearing testimony here. We're almost 2 full weeks of the state presenting its case. Do you have any sense of how long this trial may go before both the state and the defense rest and the jury is charged with making up their minds in this case?
Well, we're nearing the end. You saw the prosecutors today basically summarizing a lot of the evidence they've already introduced with a couple extra pieces in there. We think we have one more witness today before the state could possibly rest their case. At this point, we don't know what evidence, if any, the defense plans to present, but we could be done either today or tomorrow, at least with the evidence. Of course, then you would have to go into closing arguments, which you would imagine would take a little bit, and then deliberations.
Grace King, we know you're going to keep us on top of every development as you have for these almost 2 full weeks of the trial now, and before that jury selection, and before that You, as we well know, have been following along with all the families and neighbors and loved ones who've been impacted by this shooting at Apalachee High School in 2024. Grace, we appreciate it. We will check back in with you a little bit later today.